The Government of National Unity is holding its first cabinet meeting this weekend. Members from various parties are expected to hold discussions to form cohesive policy for the new administration. Black Business Federation Secretary General Wonder Jaca joins us for more on their expectations from the new cabinet. Wanda, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I guess let's start with when was the GNU announcement made. What were your thoughts about the 11 political parties that now form part of this GNU? Do you find that they are the kinds of parties that you think will advance black business?
Thank you, and greetings to all your viewers home. As the BBF, when the GNU was announced, we had mixed reaction because the various political parties that forms the government have different policy positions. So for us, it's going to be interesting what kind of decision they will take moving forward. But we are only hoping that they will put the interest of South African first and theirs second.
Now, when you look at some of those parties from the DA to the Freedom Front Plus, the IFP, the UDM, ANC, and the likes, are you at all concerned at all about this upcoming policy meeting, that there may be some clashes, considering their manifestos that vary on different topics, such as affirmative action and black economic empowerment?
We think as PPF, what they should do first is not to go and speak about their own political policies, but they should rather do a consultative processes on stakeholders to get their views, because obviously their policies and their manifesto clashes, that we can guarantee, but they must then ask all stakeholders who have an interest in government to make their contribution, and then they should then begin to establish their policies informed by the stakeholders and the people's view.
How do you think they'll be able to balance that, considering some of the opposing views when it comes to job creation, our economy, and our education system?
Well, I think first and foremost, we want to warn the Government of National Unity that it must not exist outside the parameters of the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth administration, but they must understand that they are the continuation of government. So it's not a new government. So important policies such as BEE, Black Empowerment, must be retained. We believe so, and various other policies must be retained, and then they can always enhance, because not all policies were good, but some can be enhanced, but some must be continued.
You know, after that GNU announcement, as we all waited for that cabinet announcement as well, as the BBF, you also were quite particular that the president, about who the president appoints in the ministry, for instance, of the Department of Trade and Industry, as well as small businesses and you know, basically the economy ministries as well. Now that we know that, you know, we've got Parks Tau at the Department of Trade and Industry, and for finance, Minister Enoch Godongwana remains. Are you happy with those appointments, and also considering that they both have two deputies?
Thank you. Yes, you will remember what we said as PPF is that we would like the president to make appointment in those ministries, people who are qualified, people who understand government and governance, and people who will be committed to continuity. We are happy that in the trade and industry, it's someone who have been with government, someone who understands policies, someone who also understands the government direction. And we are also happy that in finance is the continuation as well as small business department. So we are quite happy, even though we had our differences in terms of some of the decisions that were made by these ministers when they were ministers in the sixth administration. But also, we are also happy with some of their decisions, and we know that they have open door policies. They appreciate criticism, and they also take contribution. So we are quite happy to say so.
And also considering those things that you were unhappy about in the sixth administration as well, care to just divulge some of those issues that you'd like fleshed out by the seventh administration?
Well, first and foremost, we were not impressed by the fight by the government in terms of challenging the AfriForum court ruling on triple PFMA and the regulations. That was one. Secondly, we raise concern that when over the public procurement bill, which even now it is not signed into law, as we were not happy that there wasn't enough consultation around it. We hope that government or the parliament will have made sure that proper consultation be done. Even when we've inquired where it was, where we were told that it was within Netflix, it was in Parliament, so we were not able about this process, and so those just are few to mention.
Are you at all concerned, considering that there were those problems when there was a majority one party that was governing then, and now we've got a GNU with a concoction of different political parties, that problem may continue?
We know that one of the GNU parties who are partners was amongst those who always take the government to court and disagree with government. Now that they're in government, we're interested to know how, if this will continue. So yeah, so for us, that's the biggest highlights.
Yeah, and while I have you on that, I mean, you are obviously alluding to the Democratic Alliance there. I wanted to ask you, from the BBF, what's your reaction? Because, you know, you are focusing on black business, would also include black farmers as well. So what were your reactions to the DA's John Steenhuisen being appointed the Minister of Agriculture?
You know, we were just saying as BBF that we will have loved to be part of the negotiation and the allocation of ministers, but anyway, we couldn't be because we are not in politics. So we do not know what really was the criteria, but all we can say is that as BBF, we welcome the GNU and all the appointment or the allocation of portfolios, and we also made a commitment to work with the GNU and support the GNU. We will also be engaging the Minister of Agriculture, Minister John Steenhuisen, on matters of black farmers, and we are hoping that he will be receptive and he will be solution-oriented based, because just even here in KZN, we have written to the MEC for Public Works and Infrastructure, and he has responded very well that he would like to meet with us, and we are waiting for a date from him. So we will work with any minister coming from any part. Just today, we were attending a breakfast session with the MEC of Economic Development, Tourism, and Rural Affairs, Rev Zone of the IFP, and we had a very fruitful engagement. So we are just calling on all ministers to leave their political parties' views and different and put South African first and work with everyone. And as PPF, we won't say just the we are looking at them as ministers who are part of government, who are part of the government of the national units.
Well, thank you so much for your time.